Good morning, folks. It's Joey here with Dixie Doggers. This is going to be our first podcast. What we're going to do is we're going to set up and we're going to talk to real hunters. It's going to be not just it's not just going to be me just talking. We're going to have interviews. We're going to have interviews with people. We're going to have tailgate time, which is while we're hunting, we're going to stop, film a segment, and do audio and stuff where we can get real-time thoughts and questions and answers right then while it's fresh on somebody's mind. Like when you go out there and you got a dog that's a great cast dog and that dog doesn't cast so great that day. How are you feeling about it? What are we going to do to correct it? And things like that. Then we're also going to try to cover what I like to call all the unwritten rules. There's so many young people that start out hunting and they don't really have a good mentor, and they don't have somebody to look up to, and so it's our job as hunters, as men and women, whether you're young or old, to pass this heritage and tradition on. And we need to try to do it correctly. You don't want to take a few teenage guys out and show them how to jump a fence and hit some property that's got a lot of hogs on it that's not yours. And you want them to understand how appreciative that you are, and you want them to understand how appreciative you are from the people that have took time out of their life and their schedule to show you and to teach you and to help you, is what I'm trying to say. You want to pass that on to them. You don't want it to be like, oh, I'm Joe the Great Mighty Hunter and I did this all by myself, because you didn't. There's exception to the rule. There are some that have. But the majority of us, we had somebody that showed us how to do it. So like I said, we want to try to cover those aspects in our first real sit down show. Today, this is kind of an introduction, just letting you guys know who we are, what we do. We're Dixie Doggers. We're located here in Central Alabama. I had my uncle. He actually got us a hunt lined up, I guess probably 12, 14 years ago, with a guy that I'd actually went to school with and hadn't seen him in years and years. His name's Clay Austin. My uncle's name is Frank Wright. And I fell in love with it from the very, very first minute. We drove about 2 hours. We didn't catch anything. But man, let me tell you, watching the dogs work, the fellowship, the guys and how they interacted with each other, I knew it was for me. Sitting in a deer blind is fine and dandy and everything, but there was just so much more action. It just suited me a lot better. And so I tended to, I wound up getting to go a couple more times that year, and then the next year I wound up getting me a couple of dogs, and Clay, he helped me so much, man. It's unreal. I can't thank him enough. Without him, I don't think I would have continued on in this sport at all. And then he just had some really good dogs. He had good ethics, and the whole crew that he had, all those guys hunted hard together. They all respected each other. I don't think I ever remember any arguing and fighting in all the years that we all hunted together. There was a lot of bullshitting going on, and ribbing and joking and cracking on somebody. That was all the time, because we were all friends. We were all mates, and it just And now it seems like it's gotten to where everything has changed so much in the past 6 to 8 years. It's almost impossible to find a couple guys to go hunt with. I mean, if you do, you're very lucky if you get a couple that you can go hunt with and trust. That's not going to come back and hunt your spots and, you know, try to drag your name through the mud and call your landowners behind your back and argue and fight the whole time or stay drunk the whole time. You know, those are all the aspects that we want to cover in this first series. You know, we take a lot of veterans out hunting with us. We take a lot of children out hunting with us, and so we try not to do too much of the drinking and all that stuff. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's one of the good things about this sport of dog hunting. You can turn them loose, and if you have, you know, good cast dogs, you can sit on the tailgate and drink a few beers till they get you one stop, and then go do the deal. But you know, we walk hunt a lot, pretty good bit too. We've got all different styles of hunting. We're going to cover that because, you know, you got one guy, he likes hounds, and that's the only thing that there is hounds. And then you got your cur dog guys. You got your Catahoula guys, which is cur dog too. But you know, then you got your guys that, well, kind of like what we do. We you know, we're all about F1 hybrid crosses. We do a lot of rough dogs, a lot of run and catch dogs. Works for us. It doesn't work for everybody, and it's hard to work them. It's hard to work those dogs with other style dogs too. We'll get into all that. A guy I know named Ed Barnes, he just wrote a book called In Pursuit of Hog Dogs, and I'm telling you, man, I started reading that book. My son got it for me. My son Nate, my oldest boy, he got me that book. He knew I wanted to read it, in which I could have got it from Ed or anything, you know, later on, no problem. But I started reading that book, and it was just like, it was almost like I had written that book too. And then I've talked to a couple other people, and they feel the same way. It's like, man, it's like we wrote a part of that book. And the reason is, it's because Ed covered all the aspects of what hog dogging is. I mean, he covered anything from, you know, how to get your puppies and get started, to casting dogs, to rough dogs, to catch dogs, the medical care dogs, whelping dogs. I mean, from building kennels, worming, to every type of hunting that you can think of, to bay pens, to having people come over and hunt with you. You know, y'all need to check that book out. It's by Ed Barnes, In Pursuit of Hog Dogs. And I think you can get it with Amazon, or, well, pretty much just, you know, just hit it on the internet, you'll find it. And just at least go get you a copy of it and check it out. Along with that, Ed Barnes, Jake Lacano, Pat Louie, and I think Colby Ingram. There's a couple other guys that they've all been doing a podcast, and it's Hog Dog Mafia.
Play Dog Nation.
No, yeah, it's Hog Dog Nation. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got the other part from. No, yeah, okay.
Hog Dog Mafia is the group in Georgia.
Okay, so you can edit all that stuff out anyway.
Well, it don't matter.
Yeah,
it's a podcast.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so
that's what I'm here for.
Well, I kind of like doing this. This is my first time doing this, so, you know, it's all new to me. I've been in front of the camera one time, actually, sitting down doing anything, but excuse me. We got they've been doing a podcast about the bay pen circuit. We're going to cover some of that because, you know, we were all woods dogs guys. I mean, that's the only thing that we done. We didn't have bay pens or anything like that. You know, for years here in Alabama, you know, you could have a wild hog, and then I guess it's probably been 10 years or more now. They outlawed all of it to where we can't have a live hog to train or for any purposes. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, once you're in possession of that hog, it has to be dispatched, and then move on with it. You know.
It is Hog Dog Nation.
It is Hog Dog Nation. Okay, confirmation from my Google guy, Nate Wright. Hog Dog Nation. But anyway, those guys they cover a lot of good topics and subjects, and man, I'll tell you, if you ever get the chance to go to some of these bay pens, go. Don't wait around. Just keep messing around and say, you know what, that's not for me. I'm not going to like it. You don't know what the hell you're going to like? Go. Get off your ass and go. I mean, go support it. You're going to spend $15, maybe $20 to get in for the whole weekend. Where else you going to do that? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sometimes you go to Jake's. Jake's runs a whole week. I mean, you got a whole week, and they're cooking. Most of them have a welcome supper, a band on Friday nights. I mean, stuff for the kids. Kids can run around. It's like a big family. Everybody kind of watches each other. I don't think that I've been to maybe one. There was an altercation in years and years that I've been doing it.
That was just too much drinking.
Yeah, and that was just a Friday late night where everybody had just got a little excited. And what it was actually one guy that was kind of new to it, and he just decided he would voice his opinion about everybody else's dogs, and everybody else didn't want to hear his opinion, and they asked him to be quiet in a not so chalant way. But we got that. We're going to cover trapping. You know, I'm not going to tell you how to go trap or how to do this. We'll tell you what works for us, and we'll tell you what works for other people. I've got a couple other guys that are full-time trappers. I mean, that's what they do, and we're going to bring them in. We'll sit down and talk with them, you know, of their methods, and not just for hogs. It'll be for, you know, any kind of trapping, you know, to further educate the public and to, you know, to educate you guys out there that need some help. You know, if you have questions or anything like that, you can just hit them in the comments below. You know, just drop us a comment. You know, and if you have a question to where, you know, you're going to be listening on the podcast, then you can just email me. You know, DixieDoggers13@gmail.com, and leave any questions or anything like that. You know, but now what I ask is, you know, if you're going to be negative and, you know, or you're going to be pissy about stuff and piss and moan and bitch and whine and stuff, just, you know, do that on your own time. Don't do our time like that, because, you know, we work. I have families and stuff. I take time out of my life to do this, to try to spread the love of this stuff that I do with everybody else. I don't want to deal with all that bullshit. And because there's so many people that they take offense to one little word or one little thing. If, you know, God forbid you run an open hound, the next guy's going to ridicule you to death. That's not right. That's up to you. That's your choice. You doing it. You do your thing. You know, if it works for you, man, knock it out. But it might not work for the other guy. So, you know, you don't have to voice your opinion on every little thing. You know, sometimes it's better just to nod your head and you can think about it in the back of your mind. You know, that's why our mouths open and close. You know, you can do both of them like that. You know, you don't have to just constantly dog somebody else. And that's the problem we have with the hog hunting sport that I've seen is, you take like coon hunters. I mean, there's all kinds, man. I've been to several different places and coon hunted with a lot of people. But the thing about it is they have coon hunting clubs, and all those guys get together and they hunt each other's dogs. They, you know,
a different style of dogs.
Yeah, they don't care, man. It don't matter. They're just happy to hunt. Rabbit hunters, squirrel hunters. I know guys right now, all I got to do is shoot them a text, go by and pick up. I'm talking about finished dogs, whether it be squirrel dogs or coon dogs or rabbit dogs, either one. And they'll say, hey, come get them. Take your kids hunting, take your neighbor hunting, whatever. It doesn't matter. Use my dogs. Here's all my stuff. Hog hunters? Oh, shit, you done lost your mind. Most of them, you go to their house and say, hey, can I hunt your dog? They're looking at you like you're crazy. But now there's exceptions to the rule. I know some guys right now that they've been hog hunting for a few years. I'm not going to say they're new to the sport, but to me they're still kind of new to it. Jonathan Thompson, Heath Callicott, Jacob Kilgore. Man, those guys, they share those dogs. They share their properties. They share everything. They are a tight clique. And they catch some pigs. They catch pigs out. Sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, like, damn, man, they're about to make me look bad. You know, it's like, dang. But that's the thing. They're all working together. So, you know, they listened. I think most of them coon hunted and stuff beforehand before they got into the hog dog. So, you know, that just goes to show you that tight knit group like that works. We've got a couple guys that's like that with us, and for a long time, I was open and let people come get dogs, hunt dogs. I did the same thing, and then there for a few years I kind of fell away from doing that. I kept getting burned. I mean, it was nonstop. Yeah, you just keep getting jacked around all the time. It gets old. It's not that you're holding that against somebody. It's just like, look, do I really want to deal with this shit today or no? You get, and then sometimes it's not their fault. We all perceive things differently. And what I think somebody's doing would be wrong to me, it might not be wrong to the next guy. That guy might not care. He might I don't care. There's people that have open relationships in their marriage. It's like, I don't mind. You can take my wife out and take her home with you. But, I'm not into that kind of shit. Yeah, I don't mind sharing my stuff, but you better treat it right. You know what I'm saying? And you can't just get anything. If you need help with something, or you need my time and effort, or even money, whatever, I'll do whatever I can do. But respect it is the main thing. A lot of people, they don't want to respect it. They look at it, well, I got this, so hell, I'll just move on to the next one. And I think there's actually some professionals that do that. They go from one group to the next group to the next group. They're hog hunting whores, I guess is what you would call them. They trample around with this group for a month, and then when they get tired of that group or have done stepped on their toes or done went and got some property from them, they go to the next one.
Just go find a different butt buddy every other couple months.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. As a full nation of hunters that does that, I'm not saying you should go out there and slander and defame these people, run their name down, but you should let other people know. It's like, hey, this guy over here, he's up to no good. Kind of let him know. Drop him a little hint. You don't have to run him down. You don't have to just demolish his integrity of it. He'll do that himself sooner or later. And got my new Dixie Doggers Cup here from Greg Bryant and the Ohio guys that came down and hunted with us. Well, they come down and hunt every year. That was a good hunt. Had a good time with that. We'll also go over equipment, cut gear, stuff like that. Because if you've got really good dogs that like to stretch their legs and ain't scared to get out there, well, you need some good tracking equipment. We dealt with that not too long ago. These guys have some pretty good dogs, jam up dogs. But the equipment was so old and outdated, we didn't even know where the dogs were half the time. I mean, they're still running 220s and DC 30s. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If it's good quality stuff and it's all working properly, I have took out many hogs with a damn old 220, and I have took out many hogs with a quick track. Took out many hogs with nothing. All right, so if you're gonna go somewhere else with your dogs, have good equipment, so that way, when they get stretched out and they're on a good hog, and or if they're by themselves, and the guys that you're hunting with, they don't have their dogs with your dogs or something, something in that sort's what I'm trying to say is just, I know this stuff is expensive, and if you're gonna do it right, you owe that to the dogs. You don't want to walk in there and have dogs cut down everywhere because you didn't want to spend a couple $100. Not trying to be mean about it or anything, but that's just the damn truth. I mean, it's like buying a dog in general. If you can't buy dog food, don't buy the dog. If you can't take care of it properly, don't get the dog. And if you can only handle 3 or 4 dogs, well, then that's all you need. Don't get 30 or 40. 30 or 40 is a lot, I promise you. We keep a big yard with dogs all the time. Anywhere from lower 30 and up at any given time. I don't think there's probably been less than 30 dogs on this yard in nearly 10 years.
Most time minimum 30, maximum 50.
Yeah, we've had just a touch more than 50.
I think the most we ever had was 62.
Yeah, but we had a lot of
2 litters of puppies.
Yeah, we had a lot of puppies too during that time. But all right, and then Another subject we want to touch base on, and I mean have some discussions. Like I said, each one of these little subjects I'm talking about, we're going to have somebody come in, or we're going to go to them and we're going to sit down and we're going to have a discussion about the topic. All right. The next one I want to cover would be other hunters. Not other hog hunters, but other hunters. We all know how deer season goes. Some people that hog hunt with dogs, they pretty much hang it up all deer season, and some places you have to. A lot of places it's legal to run all year, no closed season, no bag limit, not a lot of stipulations. But out of respect for each other, those guys, they step aside and let the deer hunters have their seasons. If you run dogs at night a lot, you might have to deal with coon hunters. And and that's not a big deal. I say the word deal with them. You don't have to deal with anybody. You can y'all can cohabitate and just be respectful of each other. And when you get access to some property, I just got some property not long ago. A lady called me, and when I looked at the property, I noticed there was a game camera in a small green field and a little feeder. And so I asked, was anybody else hunting the property? She said yes. She had a couple guys that were deer hunting. I got their information, contacted them, and let them know what was going on. And since deer season was pretty much right upon us, I told them, I was like, we're not going to run dogs or anything like that. We're probably just going to wind up trapping them. And they were all for that. And to be honest with you, it seemed like the guys were relieved. They didn't want any kind of disagreements or anything themselves, but they had done put in a lot of time and effort and work to be able to kill a nice deer. And then they got the hogs coming in there tearing their stuff up, and a lot of people think, well, I've only seen 5 or 6 hogs, I'll just shoot them. Well, just because you've seen 5 or 6 doesn't mean that's all that's there, and you're going to educate them each time you pull that trigger. Especially, if it's just 1 or 2 people hunting a pretty good sized property, several hundred acres or more. So we're going to touch base on that. Another thing is gaining access. Getting permission to hunt properties. It's an art, really. There's an art form. You need to know people. You need to have good people skills, and you need to be able to read people. You pull up in your old hunting truck. A lot of us have hunting trucks. Hell, some of them barely running. And dogs hanging out of the back of them and hollering. And you might have a dead hog on the back and stuff. Be mindful of that. Don't pull up to a $350,000 home with a nice drive and carport and all this stuff, and just pull your old wagon up in there with blood and shit hanging out of the back of it. And dogs barking and stuff. I have a little bit of self-respect, especially. I'm not saying all people are like that, because they're not. There's exceptions to the rule. We'll get into that. Actually, what I've got planned is I have some landowners, and I have some that I have permission from, and they're going to sit down and talk with us. And then I've got 2 people that I want to go talk to. I've never met, never shook their hands yet. And we're going to video the whole thing and see if we can't get access to hunt their properties, and just kind of go over it. And maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe they won't pull a shotgun out and run us off the yard. And maybe we'll get some more land to hunt. Because when it all comes down to it, with the hog hunters, I know a lot of hog hunters that say that they're in it, they want to eradicate hogs. They hate hogs. They don't want to do this. They'll kill every hog they see. I don't buy that for 1 minute. Not for 1 second. I don't. Look, I'll kill everything that I have to kill as far as the hog hunting goes. If I'm on that property and there's a lot of hogs and they're doing damage and stuff, I'm going to catch a hog every time I go. And I'll trap every time I have, I'll do what I have to do to get the property and to keep it up. But without having any kind of hogs there to hunt, then what are we doing? I know there's a lot of states. I think Oklahoma, is it Oklahoma? I believe. I know. Well, I know there's a lot of states you can castrate the hogs. You can bar them, turn them loose, let those boars or ex-boars, let them grow up, put some meat on, and you know, you got a hell of a lot better meat hog. And then you got states like where we live at, you can't do anything. I mean, you got to kill them right as soon as you come in contact with them. Dogs, traps, it doesn't matter. You got to put them down. I'm not saying that that's a bad deal, but I think, you know, it could be regulated more, and we'll get into that later as well. Then you got a lot of thermal hunters, night vision hunters, and those guys, most of them, from what I know of, that's how they start into getting into the hog hunting. Or it's some guys that they used to dog hunt and, you know, couldn't keep enough property. It was hard for them to keep properties, and that's the thing about it. You go out here and you run dogs. Dog hunting is not going to get rid of every single hog on that property. You know, in order to keep that population down, you got to do every aspect of it. You got to shoot a hog when you see it. You got to turn the dogs loose when you can. And you got to trap them all year round. You know, you just can't say, well, I'm gonna trap them in October because they're hitting my green fields. No, I mean, it's a full-time job, and you know, if you're a property owner or a landowner and you're listening to this, you know, keep that in mind and get you a guy or a group of guys that can help you do a little bit of all of it. You know, because if you've got some that are strictly just dog hunters, they don't necessarily agree with all the trapping. And then if you get somebody that's just a trapper, they don't agree with the dog hunting. And then if you get somebody that's just a thermal guy, they don't agree with none of it. You know, with everybody wants to work together or needs to work together instead of working against each other. Weather is a big factor. Want to touch base on that, especially here in the southeast. Run and catch dogs, bay dogs. Everybody, you know, puts a lot of gear on them. You need it. You got to have good gear. But then again, you know, there's a lot of heat stroke that goes on. I've had dogs heat stroke myself, not many, and that's one reason we don't, because, you know, a lot of times we don't vest them up. But then you always got to deal with walking in there and picking them up and toting them out. And you don't want to deal with that when you get a good dog that's going good, and then it gets cut down. Then all that work goes to nothing. Like I said, a lot of these subjects here too, like I said, going back to Ed Barnes in his book, check that out. He covers a lot of the same subjects, and he goes in depth with a lot of them. We want to get into the bay pen stuff too. Like I said, I'd like to interview a few of those guys. I got Marc Bannister. He owns Hickory Crossings. Corey and Jenny Dye. They have Pistol Creek. Tadpole's got Broughton Island,
I believe so.
right? And then Joey Todd, Drew Todd. They got theirs, and then Mr. Charles Tucker from Mississippi. He's getting his old pen back up and running. Hadn't been going in several years. I'm definitely going to do an interview with him. He is a dog man times 5 or 10 and has so much knowledge. It's just, I mean, when you're around him, best thing to do is just shut up, sit on tailgate, and absorb all you can. And it's not just about dogs. He has a wealth of knowledge about a lot of things. He's a very, very smart man, and loves to help people. I mean, he's probably give away more dogs than I don't know what. Then we'll get into some dog associations, some registries, some hunting associations and stuff. You've got all kinds, you know. You've got the American Bay Dog Registry. You can get in. We'll look into that, see how they do all their stuff and how they have it set up and how they keep up with everything. We've got the American Hunt Terrier Association. Got with everybody's that's got the Yak Terriers. That's a good thing to get into. need to check it out, and we will. We'll get into that. We'll do some interviews with some terrier guys, because we're terrier guys ourselves. Have been for years and years, ever since I first started. I've always had terriers and always will. I mean, they're little fireballs, and a lot of times they have busted quite a few bays for me, but I have caught a lot of stuff with them. And then you got your bigger registries, you know, you got your UKC, AKC, PKC, and stuff like those. We'll get into them and how to properly register a litter. We'll do that. We'll look at title transfers on dogs. We'll try to walk you through anything to do with any kind of dog hunting that we have knowledge of. And if we don't have personal knowledge of it, we will find someone who is at the peak of that game, whether it's on the side with the beagles, or if it's with the cocker spaniels and somebody hunting woodcock with them. We're going to find it, and we're going to sit down and we're going to have a discussion about it, and we're going to bring that topic to life and try to help anybody who needs any help with anything that they're dealing with. And so going back to what we started out with, this is Dixie Doggers. It's a kind of a family-oriented deal. Been doing it for past 12, 13 years, or longer. I don't even know how long I've been doing it now, but anyway, we're getting this our first podcast. It's kind of more like an introduction than anything else, and then what we're going to try to do is weekly we're going to try to drop one, and we'll have it on YouTube as well, so you can sit and, if you want to sit and look at me and listen to us that way, that's fine. We're going to try to put it on every format that we possibly can. I believe the sport of hog dogging is a good red-blooded American sport that needs to be exploited in the right way and does not need a few bad apples ruining the whole bunch. Because we do get a lot of flack about stuff, and because we use dogs and knives a lot. Most of us use dogs and knives, and it's a primitive, it's kind of a primitive sport, in a lot of ways. But even though it's that primitive, we have bukus of money tied up in this, and it's still going.
It's still going. I don't know what happened.
I don't know, we just lost power. But anyway, we still got bukus of money tied up in this stuff. And we've got all the newest technology and equipment that we can afford. And like I said, just keep out, if you give us a like, we're on Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, all the social media stuff. Leave us a comment below if you have a question. If, like I said, DixieDoggers13 gmail.com. Email me if you got a question or if you want to come hunt with us. It's not a big deal where you gotta. If you want to come run dogs, just hit us up. We'll get together and go. Ain't no problem. If you got some property you want us to come run dogs on, or help you set up and trap or do anything, and it doesn't have to be right here in Central Alabama. It can be about anywhere. We ain't scared to put some fuel in the tank and go. All right. So till next time. We're out. We'll talk to y'all later.